Hare Krishna, everybody, welcome. This is Krishna Dasa. So welcome you all. Today we are going to complete chapter 5. So we will start from 5.25 and go on till the end of chapter 5, which is 5.29. So before we begin, let me say the prayer to Guru and God. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, are you all ready? Shall I start playing the Shlokas?
Should we say Guru
Okay,
Brahma,
sure.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'll play the Shlokas now.
लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः कामक्रोधवियुक्तानां यतीनां यतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं वर्तते विदितात्मनाम् स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यांश्चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिर्मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधो यः सदा मुक्त एव सः भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम् सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे सन्न्यासयोगो नाम पञ्चमोऽध्यायः.
Hare Krishna. So I think today Sulataji was going to read.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna to all. Text 5.25. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Text 5.26. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Text 5.27 and 28. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. Text 5.29. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Radhe Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So let us go through this final touches to the 5th chapter from Bhagavān Krishna. So in 5.25, Krishna is emphasizing that spiritual enlightenment where sages are also known as rishis, so ṛṣayaḥ, they attain brahmanirvāṇa, or unity with the ultimate reality, which is Brahman. So Krishna is talking about individuals whose impurities and sins are completely eradicated. So Krishna is using a term called kṣīṇa kalmaṣāḥ. So he's using that term to talk about impurities. And again, if you recollect, Krishna has spoken about the need for self-purification many times. And he's again saying that only when self-purification happens, only then you can comprehend the higher reality. So I don't know if you remember, but at the very beginning, in second chapter, Krishna was scolding Arjuna. I won't say scolding, he was just trying to be very assertive with Arjuna. And he was questioning Arjuna, so it's a very powerful shloka in the beginning of second chapter, 2.2, where he says, kutastvā kaśhmalamidaṁ viṣhame samupasthitam anārya-juṣhṭamaswargyam akīrti-karam Arjuna. So there he was using the term kutastvā kaśhmalamidaṁ. From where have these impurities come at this critical hour? So even there, Krishna had started talking about impurities creeping into us and how we have to take care of them. So a person, through persistent meditation and control over senses and their mind, they can manage to clean themselves of all the impurities and sins. So Krishna says, when that happens, then they can realize the profound joy of self-realization, the joy in their own true self. See, there is one very, very profound truth here. Not many people explain it. I don't know why. That we have to understand is what Krishna says is, when we say enlightenment, what does enlightenment mean? So Krishna is saying, enlightenment doesn't mean it is an escape from the world. Krishna says, rather, enlightenment means a deeper engagement with it, but driven by love and compassion and a sense of unity with all beings. Like Smitaji was saying in the last session, where we had to take part in the drama, right? So Krishna says that enlightenment means you are engaging with the world in a different way. How? You are engaging in the world from a position of love and compassion. So Krishna used the word vidya vinaya sampanne, which is, remember in the previous set of shlokas, he spoke about the vision of knowledge. That is what helps you see a Brahmin, a cow, a dog, everything equally. Because you are actually realized that they are all having the same essence, the same spark of the Supreme within them. That is what and Krishna says that is the mark of enlightenment. In other words, when you are enlightened, you are still engaged with the world. You can still be engaged, but you will be engaged at a different level. You will be engaged from a position of compassion and love. And Krishna says that the self-purification, there is no two ways. I mean, you really have to work on it, and that is the only way you can reach this stage. So he also uses another term called Chinnadvaita. What he's saying is, when we get this kind of enlightenment, we also get a very clear understanding of this whole concept of duality. And you will have no doubts, because we have the sense of separateness, which is an illusion. And self-realization helps us understand that and overcome that. Now, we spoke about the importance of self-realization so many times. So how do we know if we are self-realized? Now, Krishna says, when we are self-realized, our sense of separateness from other beings will disappear. So this is the kind of science that he is explaining. So he's not just saying, oh, start seeing a Brahmin and a cow as the same, or a dog or whatever. How do you do that? So he's giving us a step-by-step guidance. He's saying, what is the prerequisite? Prerequisite is self-purification. And then what else do you need to do? You need to have control. You need to do meditation. You need to do so many things. Humility, lack of ego, lack of pride. And then he's also saying, how do I know I reached it? So how do you measure? How can you say that I've reached self-realization? He's saying, When you reach self-realization, that perception of separateness goes away. In other words, you don't think that I am Poonam or Apurva or Smita or Suchita or Sulata or Rajesh or whoever. We don't think like that. Because as long as we say that I'm Krishna Dasa or I'm Ekansh or I'm something, we are still in the sense of separateness. So when true realization happens, we realize that when somebody asks you, who are you? You will realize that, oh, I'm just a spark of the same divine. And if I'm the spark of the same divine, if Suchita is the spark of the same divine, Sujata is part of the same divine, then where is the difference? Where is the separation? Then we realize that we are all the same. But that has to happen from a realization, not just theorization. So it is not enough to just have a theory that says everybody is same. If you can feel it from inside, that is self-realization. And what happens once you feel it? What happens once you can actually feel that Sujata, Sulata, Suchita, no matter who, they're all same. They're all, me and them are not separate. Then what happens? You will be dealing with all of them with love and compassion. That is the vision of knowledge. That is the significance of that vision of knowledge. So all kind of cruelty, all kind of rudeness, all kind of deceit, they all happen because we have a sense of separation. We think we are being bad to somebody else. We are being rude to somebody else. We are putting somebody else down. But once you realize that it is like one leaf of a plant trying to punish another leaf of the same plant. But once it realizes that at the end we are all the same plant, that is how you know that you have actually had self-realization. That feeling has to come from within. So I wish all of us all the best, that one day we can all feel that from inside, genuinely. So at the beginning of the 5th chapter, Krishna says that Nishkama Karma Yoga is thus superior to Karma Sannyasa. And Krishna reiterates that same fact here. He's saying that truly self-realized person will engage in activities which are for the welfare of all beings. That makes logical sense, correct? Because the self-realized person has understood that everybody is part of the same divine spark. Everybody has the same divinity. So once that realization happens, you are full of compassion. When you are full of compassion, you're going to do only what is beneficial for everybody. So that is the next thing. And what does it mean when you do something which is beneficial for everybody? You are doing it only for everybody's benefit. Now, you are not focused on what you are going to gain individually. Correct? But then that is the definition of Nishkama Karma. And this is exactly what Krishna was trying to explain to us in 4th chapter. Where he said, you have to do everything without expecting any results, without expecting fruits. So now it probably makes even more sense. Yes, because that is if your ultimate goal is self-realization, then the outcome of that self-realization is going to be, you are going to be a Nishkama Karma Yogi by nature. Because you are going to do everything for the benefit of everybody. And then there is no scope for selfishness. And Krishna is saying, when somebody really wants to understand life, when they really want to make themselves better, then they have to work hard to control their unwanted desires and anger, and then they can find true happiness and peace. Now, see, it's very interesting. Here, Krishna is talking about meditation is a way of calming the mind and focusing the mind. And he's also showing us how to use meditation to find truth and happiness. So it's very interesting, and it's kind of a gist of what is going to come next. And here he's talking about anger and lust. This some of you may remember, Krishna has already spoken about these vikaras earlier. And in 2.62, way back in 2nd chapter, Krishna had again called out lust and anger as the top 2 culprits. Ashaji, you want to read that? 2.62?
Sure, sir. Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangastheshu pajayate sangastanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate.
Thank you so much. Kamat krodho vijayate. Kama and krodha. So Krishna has said, while contemplating on the objects of the senses, one develops deep attachment to them. And this attachment leads to lust, and then from lust arises anger. So he had set the stage way back in second chapter for this. You may remember we even created that table from top to bottom, how it all started from attachment. So here again in 5.26, Krishna is again repeating. Remember the painter analogy. He's going back and forth from different perspectives, different angles. He's saying the same things and trying to make sure that we have the picture perfect in our mind. So again, Krishna repeats here and says, if you can control lust and anger, then you become eligible to practice karma sannyasa. See, up to 5.25, Krishna is only talking about nishkama karma. You are doing your duties. But from 5.26 onwards, like 3 or 4 shlokas, Krishna is saying that even karma sannyasa can take you there. It's not that karma sannyasa cannot give you liberation. What Krishna said, he had said that not everybody, karma sannyasa is not for everybody. There are rules and regulations that govern who is eligible for karma sannyasa. Correct? So here Krishna is coming back to that topic and he is saying, if you are following the path of karma sannyasa, the very first prerequisite for a sannyasi is absolutely no lust, absolutely no anger. He's saying if you can do that, then you can practice sannyasa. And if you are successful as a sannyasa, starting from this point onwards, then you will definitely get liberation. The point he is trying to make is people who have understood the true self, every moment, doesn't matter if they are alone, if they are with people, if they are meditating, working, doesn't matter. They will always have a connect to the Brahman, connect to bhagavān. That is the definition of someone who has realized the self. And they see the spiritual truth everywhere, in everyone. And of course, as we had just spoke, if you see everybody as part of you, then you will be compassionate. So these people are always compassionate. And people who are free from harmful desires and anger, they definitely will feel a connect with everybody and with the spiritual truth. Actually, Krishna has said that normally we all have to meditate. We have to meditate a lot, focus a lot to try to find this connection. But once we have reached self-realization, you're always in that state. You don't have to sit and meditate. You can just be walking, talking, doing whatever you want to do, but you are still in that state only, where you are always connected. Isn't that a beautiful state to be in? And so he's encouraging us. He's saying there is a way to achieve, there is a way to reach that stage. And this idea of being able to work for the welfare of everybody, Krishna has definitely said this, but even Gautama Buddha has said the same thing in his teachings. Now, how you can be in this mindset of serving everybody. And in Shloka 5.27 and 28, Krishna is providing an introduction to the topic of meditation. As you may know, the next chapter, chapter 6, is called Dhyana Yoga. So in that chapter, Krishna will talk more in detail about this aspect of meditation. Here he is giving a kind of a glimpse in short. There is a very, very interesting concept here. The concept is the various objects in the world, they don't disturb us by themselves. In other words, the objects themselves are not disturbing us. Now, pay attention to this. It's an important concept and very practical concept. It is only when we choose to interact with them or think about them that we get disturbed. Makes sense? For example, there is a river and there is a strong waves in the river. And you are sitting far from the river. Is the wave going to impact you? No. There is no real impact. But if you choose to go enter the water, then definitely the wave is going to move you around because it's a powerful wave. So in other words, was it the wave that was moving you around by itself? No. You chose to enter the water, and that is when the wave had an impact on you. Just like that, it can be any object or it can be any event. they by themselves cannot disturb you until you contemplate upon them and you engage with them and you give power to them to have impact on you. Okay, the same example we took 2 sessions ago, where I asked the question, when there is a boat in the ocean and there is a lot of storm, what is going to cause it to sink? And I think Ekansh was the one who replied. He said, the water has to enter and then the boat will sink. That's the exact thing about anything. So sometimes, we are of the nature, we always say that, oh, my circumstances like this, or people around me are so negative, so I feel impacted, or, right? A lot of us feel that way. But according to Krishna's philosophy, it is not people being negative that is the problem. The problem is you are choosing to engage with those people and you are choosing to let that negativity enter you. If you don't, then that has no power on you. See, such powerful practical lessons that comes from Krishna. Now, Krishna is also asking us specifically once more, he is saying, control your unwanted desires, your fears, and your anger. See, Krishna talks about these 3 things, but if you think closely, these 3 are very closely related to each other. Unwanted desires, fears, and anger. Can you see how they are connected? Because when we desire something, when we have too much attachment, when we desire something, then we fear losing that thing. Isn't it true? Think of anything in life that you desire a lot, or you think you love a lot. Then automatically there is a fear that you will lose them. So fear is following the desire. Correct? Now let us say you really want something, you desire something, and somebody is coming in the way of you getting that thing. What happens? Anger. If you desire something, if you really want something very, very much, and if somebody else comes in the way, or somebody is causing you not to get that thing, then you get angry. So if you see, they are all related like this. You desire for something, if you get it, you have fear of losing it. If you don't get it, you have anger of not getting it. And that is why Krishna is connecting these 3 things and saying, keep a watch on unwanted desire, anger, and fear. Because as long as they are there, they are very strong forces which will prevent your progress. You may remember, we spoke about this fear earlier also, in I think chapter 3 or 4, where we said, fear is also a negative quality. Because as long as we have fear in us, we cannot grow, evolve spiritually. So it's a very, very insightful concept. So if somebody can have control over these 3, unwanted desire, fear, and anger, if we can have control over these 3, then Krishna says, then we can truly be free. Very simple, na? Just 3 things. How hard can it be? Let's just control, man. Come on. Just 3 things, let's control and become free. That's what Krishna is saying here. Yeah. See, the point is, I know a lot of people ask the question, if it is so easy, why is everybody not doing it? Or how do I control fear? How do I control anger? So that is what all of Bhagavad Gita is about. It's all about self-purification. And Krishna says, when you are purifying yourself, this control will come. There is a technique also that Krishna has given here, very practical technique. This is for anybody who is trying meditation. How many of you have tried meditation or tried? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Me.
Wow. There's a lot of people. I'm so. We also have a passenger, Chitra, who is also raised her hand. Okay. Excellent. We have a lot of yogis in this group. So it is all for you yogis. Krishna has given a very practical tip. So what he says, when you are trying to meditate, especially when we are trying to meditate very strong meditation, where we are trying to focus very hard and trying to reach that different level, he's saying for those people, if you keep your eyes fully closed, then you may eventually get overtaken by sleep. Some people think they are in samadhi, but they're actually asleep. So they are sitting and meditating, and they don't realize when they have fallen asleep, and when they wake up, they think maybe I was in samadhi. Because, well, so Krishna says, if you keep your eyes very tightly closed, you may fall asleep. If you keep your eyes wide open, you may constantly get distracted with things going around you. So he says the tip is neither closed nor open. Now, how do you do that? What is the way to keep your eyes neither closed nor open? So that is the technique given, is when you focus on your eyebrows somewhere here and around the center, leading to the tip of your nose. If you focus, then automatically your eyes will be half. It is not actually half, it is slightly open, but your actual eyeballs, they are going up inside your.
Pain, Guruji, if you do like that. It takes practice, I think, right? Like if I try to do that, pains, like.
Don't force. The focus should not be to force your eyes to go up. The focus should be, are you able to keep the focus around the center? And if not center, then tip of the nose. Whichever is more comfortable, pick one. Yeah, Ekant's already got it. So that is the technique. So if you can do that, then automatically you will neither be fully closed nor open. And according to Krishna, that is a very effective technique to meditate for long without falling asleep or without getting distracted. So he will talk more about it, and there are also a lot of books that explain these techniques a lot in detail. I can try to find some links for you. And also the concept is we have to control the prana. Prana is outgoing breath and apana is incoming breath. And we have to learn how to hold the breath, how long to hold the breath. There is an entire science on all of this. And even by doing this diligently, you can gain control over your senses and your mind. So that technique is also valid. See, there is one more thing I want to explain is, this is not just Krishna, there are many yogis who have given the same technique of, so it is as if you are looking up, like your eyes are almost closed and you are looking up. That is what is the real pose for meditation. So if you look at a person who is in such a state, you will only see the white part of the eyes. And that is the kind of the real technique for deep meditation. But there is also a symbolism attached to that. The symbolism is we need to learn to look upwards and learn to focus on higher things and higher aspects. That is the symbolism of why that technique works for us. Now, it is documented in a lot of our ancient scriptures, and even modern science has documented it, that there is a connection between how we breathe and how we think. There is a very strong connection. I don't know if any of you have noticed this. If you notice, whenever we are upset, if you are very upset, then our breath will be very short and uneven. We will be breathing. We will not be breathing deeply. We will be breathing very short breaths and uneven breaths. That happens when you are very, very upset. All of you have been upset, I'm sure. But I don't know if you have noticed this. And vice versa. When you are in a state of total bliss or calm, you are feeling very calm, like you are sitting near a pond or a lake under a nice tree, cool breeze. You are totally chilled. At that time, your breath will be deep and it will be slow. This is the connection has been already documented. So this is a fact. So in other words, there is a connection between how you breathe and how your mind is, how your inner state of mind is. Now, do you remember we discussing long ago about how laws of the universe, everything in universe is governed by law, some law. So I think Apurva may probably appreciate this. So Apurva, if if x equal to y, can we say that y is also equal to x? We don't need
Yeah.
very simple, right? So in other words, if you are calm, your breath becomes slow and deep. A equals to B. So in other words, if you learn to breathe slow and deep, your mind has to become calm. So this is the law of universe, right? So how do I control my mind? You don't know how to control your mind, but then you can always control your breath. And it is documented that the breath and mind are connected. So you focus on the breath, the mind will automatically follow. That is, I have tried to condense the entire dhyana yoga into like these 2 or 3 lines. So this is pretty much the concept of meditation. This is the concept of all of dhyana yoga. All the fundamental aspect is because your breath and your mind, your prana and your mind, they are closely connected. If you want to control your mind, control your breath. And if you control your breath, automatically your mind will come. So that is the entire concept of pranayama. Of course, there are other aspects also where they try to rejuvenate parts of your body and all of that. But at the core, this is the simplest concept. So in fact, there are some gurus, some very elevated gurus who say that, you don't need any technique, you don't need any mantra, you don't need anything. All you need is sit, breathe deeply inside, and then breathe again outside, and notice the breath. And you can just say Om if you want, but you have to be conscious. Like you have to be fully aware of your breath. And so they call it Soham meditation. Soham meditation is just that. So when you breathe, you say Soham. But basically, you are very conscious. So you are keeping a watch. Okay, I'm breathing. The breath is deep. It is filling inside. It is slow. It is purposeful. Okay, hold it. Then breathe out. Again, focus on the breath. So some very elevated gurus have said, if you can do even that, and if you can do even that just for 5 minutes a day, they say that there will be a transformation. So let us try that. Okay. Well, I have tried it and I know that it works. Okay. Also, there is a mention of bhakti here. So, Swami Mukundananda, you all know, is a very popular teacher. So, what he's added his own commentary to this, and he says that all these practices like dhyana yoga, meditation, all of that, he says that they can lead to atmajnana. Atmajnana is knowledge of the self. And he makes a distinction between atmajnana and brahmanjnana. Okay, so what his philosophy is, and this is not just his, there are other sages who have said the same thing, is because we are a tiny spark of the infinite. We have all spoken about this, we all acknowledge this. So if you want to realize this tiny spark, that they are calling as atmajnana. But if you have to realize the source of this tiny spark, which is the infinity itself, that is called brahmajnana. So people like Mukundananda, even Naraji has said this, Krishna has also said this in different ways, is you can get atmajnana by doing these kind of practices. But from there, if you want to go to the brahmajnana, then you need what? Any guesses what you need? I want to see. Yes, there you go. If you want to reach brahmajnana, you need bhakti. Very, very important. And so how do you measure something that is immeasurable? How do you see something that is invisible? How do you perceive something that is beyond perception? How do you do that? The only way is total surrender and bhakti. And what is bhakti? Bhakti means it is not just fanaticism. Bhakti doesn't mean, like some people will say, oh, only Ganesha is my God. Only Shiva is the God. Only this is a God. And they will go in a branding exercise. But that is not really bhakti. That is leading to bhakti, but that is still not bhakti. It is still at a stage of, delusion. It is still fanaticism. What is true bhakti? Bhakti is very simply explained as the ability to have unconditional love. If we can develop unconditional love, that is bhakti. Otherwise, what if there are conditions? It is not bhakti, it is a transaction. So even in humans, when we have a relationship with another human, and if every now or then we are getting upset, why do we get upset? Because our expectation is not met. I expect something from my partner, but my partner doesn't give it to me, so I'm upset. So what is going on? A transaction. And when the transaction means I paid money, now the shopkeeper is supposed to give me something. I paid the money, he's not giving something, so I'm angry. That is the nature of a transaction. If you give something and you want to receive something, right? So that is not yet ready for bhakti. Before bhakti can happen, because we cannot have the same mindset with God. This is what happens. A lot of people are like, I don't believe God. It's not that they don't believe God. They are just upset that according to them, that transaction was not honored by God. Because they probably, went to a temple and did 20 chakras of a temple, but God did not make them pass the exam. So now they are upset with God. Or they read some scripture, they did something and God didn't do something for them, so they are upset. So 99% of people who say they don't believe God is because they are trying to approach God in a transactional manner. That doesn't work because we don't understand the divine transaction. So what we need is to understand what is unconditional love, and we have to practice that here. In the human form, we have to practice until we really get it, until we truly understand what unconditional love is. Once we understand it, and if we can practice it even a little here, then we are ready for true bhakti. Because that is the love that God is expecting. So what is unconditional love? Unconditional love doesn't mean that whatever we do is loved. That is not unconditional love. Unconditional love means no matter what we do, we are loved. So the difference is subtle, but that is the ultimate measure of unconditional love. It doesn't depend on what you do. It doesn't depend on what you say. It is beyond that. And if we can practice that, if we can get to that stage, then we are eligible to have the real bhakti for God. And once we get there, everything else is guaranteed. Later on, God will explicitly say that for such people, I will guarantee everything. Very, very beautiful, important lessons are yet to be read in the Bhagavad Gita. I hope we are all together till we do that. Because why do we have to have this? Because that is the nature of God's love. God's love is unconditional. God doesn't want anything from us. What would God want from us? He's in a situation where he has everything that he wants. Everything that he needs is already there. So we are of no material value to God. Okay, we are insignificant. But still, if God loves us, then that has to be unconditional love. And when we learn to reciprocate, then the true, deep relationship with God comes. That is why a lot of saints have said unconditional love is so important. And later on, if some of you are interested, later on we can also go and study. Some of you already studied with me the Bhakti Sutras, but for the rest of you, maybe once we finish the Bhakti part of Bhagavad Gita, we can go and study Bhakti Sutra again, where Naradji beautifully explains this whole concept of love, unconditional love, Siddha Bhakti, and all of that, Parabhakti, Aparabhakti, very beautiful lessons there. Then we come to the last shloka, shloka 5.29, which is a very popular shloka, which is known as the 3-point peace formula. Sulataji must remember this. Remember this, Sulataji? Can you quote the shloka?
Bhoktaram yajñatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shanti muchyate.
Very beautiful shloka, very powerful shloka. So the first part of it says, thank you, Sulataji. The first part of it says, Bhoktaram yajñatapasam. What is Bhokta? Bhogna. Bhokta means a person who gets to enjoy, the beneficiary, the enjoyer. So Krishna is saying, I am the Bhokta of all the sacrifices, all the yajnas, whatever you perform, at the end it comes to me only. Doesn't matter who you think you're offering it to. So we have to realize this. We have to realize that ultimately everything goes to God. And God is the ultimate enjoyer. So once we understand that, we will not be in the mindset of I want to enjoy something, or I'm the doer, because at the end of the day, God is the ultimate enjoyer. No, it is like our mouth. Our mouth, what happens if the mouth thinks that it is eating for itself? I am the enjoyer because I am the one who is tasting. It has to understand that at the end of the day, it is this body which is getting nourished. Just like that, we have to understand that no matter who we think we are offering our yajna and sacrifices, ultimately it is Krishna who is the ultimate enjoyer. That is the first part of the shloka, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. Second part of the shloka is Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. I am the Lord of the entire, all the universes. Sarva Loka, all universes. Maheshwara means supreme controller. So Krishna says, I am the owner, I am the supreme controller. If that is the case, how can we ever get into a sense of doership or ownership? We have to always remember that God is the owner. God owns everything. God controls everything. Even God, we belong to God. So nothing really can belong to us. So that puts us in the right mindset. And the third part is a very beautiful part. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Suhridam means compassionate and selfless friend. Sarva bhutanam, of all living entities. So Krishna says, I am the compassionate and selfless friend of all living entities. There are other places where Krishna said, if you take one step, I will take 10 steps towards you. So we just have to reach out to Krishna. He's always there for us. That is his assurance here. Now see, the Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam is very, very assuring. And I can tell you, based on my own experience, that as long as we depend on humans for experiencing a selfless friend, always compassionate and always selfless, we will always be disappointed. I mean, of course, there are some humans, but those are the kind of humans who have already elevated themselves. So for the majority of humans, it's not possible because they have not yet understood this concept. So if we depend on humans, we are always going to be disappointed. So we may be under illusion that our human friends will always support us, selflessly support us and all of that, but it doesn't usually happen. Why I'm saying all of this is not a sad statement I'm making. What I'm saying is we have to learn this, and this should make us focus more on Krishna and depend more on Krishna as that Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. Humans can be there and we can all grow together, we can all elevate each other, but ultimately, until we reach self-realization, we should know that Krishna is the one supreme, compassionate, selfless friend. We can always depend on Krishna. That way we won't get discouraged, disheartened or heartbroken. Because heartbreaks are very disruptive. एक छोटा सा heartbreak हो जाता है, I mean, somebody breaks your fragile heart, and then for 6 months you disappear. I need to recover. It's very disruptive, So let us try to avoid getting into that because it's so stupid. I mean, getting into a situation where we know in advance it's going to be a heartbreak. Why do you want to even get there? So what Krishna is saying, apart from being the ultimate bhokta and supreme controller, he is also supremely merciful. That is why Krishna is so dear to us. That is the reason why everybody loves Krishna instead of just fearing Krishna. So nowhere in the Bhagavad Gita has Krishna said you have to fear me, or if you don't listen to me, I will burn you, or I will kill you, or I will condemn you. There is nothing like that anywhere in the Bhagavad Gita. That because this is the whole concept. Krishna is a compassionate God. He is a friendly God. He is everybody's selfless friend. And that is the reason why I always say that true transformation will happen once we understand that we have to move away from God fearing into God loving. Because most of us since our childhood, somebody has always told us, if you do this, God will be angry. Jai Bappa will be angry. If you do this, you will go to hell. If you do this, you will be born as something. That is not the point. Okay, that is all just rules and regulations. The ultimate bhakti comes when we can understand that we have to be God loving. And why we have to be God loving? That is what Krishna himself has said, that he is a selfless, compassionate friend. So he's extending his hand of friendship to all of us. So this is a beautiful sloka, 5.29, which can be recited whenever you want to feel peaceful. And there is also another sloka we discussed, which was 4.24, which was, so these are two slokas which I would recommend to always keep in mind. One is 4.24, one is 5.29. There are more slokas that will come later also, but these are good ones that you can repeat. So I don't know, Ashaji, you want to recite 4.24 for us?
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah.
ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्म हवीर ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्म कर्म समाधिना.
Thank you so much. So that shloka was talking about how everything is Brahman. When you are offering something, the person offering is also Brahman. What is being offered is also Brahman. The fire is also Brahman. So that is helping us come to the realization that everything is God. Everything is the same. The sense of unity will come there. And usually that shloka is recited while eating food also. So with that, I think Krishna concludes this chapter by saying, Jnātvā māṁ śhantim ricchati. Says, if you can understand and realize all of this, the person who understands this attains peace. Jnātvā means who knows. Śhantim is peace. Ricchati is attains peace. So I hope we can all feel peaceful with this knowledge, this divine knowledge. And with that, let us come to the 8th pragma, pragma 8. Pragma 8 says, be committed and consistent with yoga, vanquish your vikaras, you will find God then. So initially I thought we can revise pragma 7 also, but I think we are almost on time. So we can do that as part of our revision. Suchitaji, let us revise part of our revision. So with that, we finish chapter 5. Yay. Feeling happy? One more step closer. So next week we can do a revision of chapter 5. So I will again ask for volunteers. You can volunteer now, or you can send me a WhatsApp message saying you are volunteering. Okay, Ekansh is there. Lakshmi ji, Suchita ji, Apurva, Sujata, Asha, Rajesh. Very nice. Smita ji is thinking, should I raise my hand? Should I not raise my hand? Okay, Smita ji, I volunteered you. Okay, Chitra ji is also there. Excellent. So we have enough volunteers. So I will start sending you questions and let us revise chapter 5 next session. Okay. So with that, I can open the floor. If you have any questions, comments. I think we spoke about dhyana, so everybody is meditating. Okay. No worries. We can talk about questions then during revision. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna, my dear Satsang family. Happy to see you. See you again next. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.